Hi, I'm Amy from Trees Not Tees. We offer runners the chance to turn down a race tee at the end of a race and plant a tree instead. Today we are talking to hill runner Ali Beaven. And Ali has had his first book, Broken, recently published, and we're going to be doing a giveaway of this on our social media on Trees Not Tees, so keep an eye out for that. Broken 2020, the year that running records were rewritten, and we'll be talking about that in a second. Hi, Ali, how are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yes, good, thank you. Thank you very much for coming to talk to us.
It's
a great looking book. I do really like the cover. I'm just going to show that again. It looks fantastic. So yeah. Do you enjoy supporting people on FKT attempts then? Fastest known times, I should just say. That is.
yeah, I do. That's something which kind of gets touched on in the book, why people give up so much of their time to go and help people do this sort of stuff. And at a very basic level, I just like going running. So going running with someone else and carrying a few of their sandwiches isn't exactly a hardship. And just being involved in things that are so important to people. Yeah. Like Mickey Ligo, who's in the book, who is incurable supporter of runners on the Pennine Way, talks about how it's a real privilege to be involved in something that means everything to someone. They've invested so much of themselves in it, and they are entrusting you with some portion of their success. So that's amazing, and you just get to hang out with people. Like I was out with Kim Collison on his 24-hour round last week. He went out so fast that me and my friend Ross Brannigan didn't make it to the place we were supposed to pick him up in time. He'd already been and gone. That was a whole fiasco. But once we caught up with him, it was great. We were just hanging out in the hills, chatting about stuff. Yeah, it's just fun.
Yes, a mixture of stress in there, I would imagine, as well at times.
Yeah. Certainly, we had sort of both sides of it on that day. So when we were frantically chasing him through the hills, that was quite stressful because we'd cocked up. Fortunately, the guy he had on the leg before us was Rob Sinclair, who is, among other things, the West Highland Way record holder. Like, it was not an issue for him to just continue on and keep doing things.
Okay.
But yeah, then we all caught up and everything was fine and the weather was good and it was nice and relaxed. And
that was the nice bit.
Yeah.
I know obviously you supported Dan Lawson, the founder of the brilliant Rerun clothing, on his record-breaking run from Land's End to John O'Groats. How was that?
It was interesting. It's not the sort of thing I usually do, running up the side of a dual carriageway.
Right, yeah.
But Dan's just a force of nature. He's wonderful. We were running along up the A9 and every few minutes, this like Diageo tanker would fly by inches from your elbow. But Dan's still standing there talking about the cosmos and the universe's love and all this sort of thing. And you wouldn't get that from anybody else. It was really great.
Wow, he can see beyond the vans and the trucks.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I don't think he even knew that they were there.
Wow, amazing. Okay, so you are a hill runner. Have you done much in the way of organised races in your time?
Yeah. Look, well, not much the last year and a half, but over that, loads.
So have you got a big pile of t-shirts?
I'm wearing one right now.
There you go. That's good.
Well, I mean, hill running in the sort of hill running in Scotland being analogous to like fell running in the Lake District is a pretty low key thing. So one good side of that is that you're lucky if you get a cup of tea and some sandwiches. Most races aren't handing out junk.
Yes.
But I've done plenty ultras and races in other countries and stuff. So yeah, I have.
Yes. Okay. But the hill running less so with the merchandise at the end.
Yeah.
So leading on to Trees Not Tees, then what do you think about what we're trying to do?
I think it's great. The debate about what to do about the environment is an interesting one because it often gets kind of split into reducing your own consumption and carbon footprint, you know, as an individual, and then pressure for change at sort of government level.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those things can often feel completely hopeless.
Yes.
You know, a drop in the ocean on the one hand, and you're appealing to people whose better nature really isn't very good on the other. And I think that what you guys are doing and what Dan Lawson is doing is kind of in the middle, right? It's people who've set themselves up so that they can have, you know, a bigger impact within their particular community. There's a lot of mileage in that. I think it's great.
Definitely. Have you done, I mean, it sounds like you're probably going to be fairly low impact anyway. Have you done anything personally to reduce your own impacts or increase your sustainability?
I think I'm like a lot of people. I like to think that I am. You know, I cycle to work and all the rest of it, but then you stop to think about it. And I had a moment a few years ago where I realized that I'd flown like 6 return flights or something in a year, and you know, I could kind of try and talk my way out of some of that. Like, you know, one of them's just to Orkney, one of them's to, you know, they're all short haul, whatever. But that just means that there are alternatives.
Yes, yeah.
That I didn't use because they were slightly less convenient, slightly more expensive.
Yes.
And I guess the other side is there's the travel and there's consumption, right? There's just buying shit you don't need, which, you know, is where the race tees things comes into it. And I mean, I've done a very good job of not flying anywhere.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just trying to do less. Yes.
Okay. Or maybe go for the slightly, like you said, the slightly less convenient, perhaps slightly longer.
And it's a slightly tricky thing because, you know, getting the train to a race in Europe or something is less feasible for people who are monetarily less rich, but also time poor. Like people can go and race in Europe on a weekend if they fly there. If you can take 2 weeks, you can do it in a much more sustainable way, but that's quite quite a privileged thing to be able to do.
Yes. Yeah. So it's prioritizing probably. Yeah,
definitely.
So at a sort of slightly more strategic level then, I mean, we have had this sort of enforced break on all the events. How would you like to see the running industry coming back? What sort of changes would you like to see?
God.
If you could choose.
I mean, with ultra running in particular, there is this sort of existential problem whereby for so many people, destination travel is a big part of the appeal of the sport. Like you can run local ultras and most people do, but people also want to go and run UTMB or Western States or whatever. Races where their carbon footprint that they generate from that is going to be much bigger. And I don't know what the solutions to that are. Like I've raced in a bunch of different places. I've done whatever. It would be a bit rich of me to sit here and tell people that they're not allowed to race in like outside a 20-mile radius from home. There's low hanging fruit though, right? Like for all these races, just the unnecessary crap that goes along with them all, which is
definitely
what you guys are trying to do something about, the t-shirts and medals and like, you know, there's the waste part of that, but also all those things have a carbon footprint that can be very easily reduced. I mean, it's easy for me to say. I don't have a peg with all my medals on it. I don't really.
No, it's not your.
Interests me.
No.
Maybe I don't want to be critical of people who are hung up on getting medals for everything, but maybe I do.
No. But like you say, even aside from the medals, there's other paraphernalia like, you know, plastic cups. I think is one that's being very heavily focused on now, and what you eat, what that's going to come in. So, like you said, there is, you know, low hanging fruit there. And also what I've found from talking to other runners is that with regards to the travel, people just now seem to be prioritizing. So they're not going to do all the races. They're going to pick the ones that really are meaningful and do those. So maybe that's a sort of compromise.
Yeah. If you put not all your time and money, but, you know, your holiday allowance and your extra income into, you know, one race a year and try to do that in a non-impactful way, that's a big step in the right direction.
Absolutely, absolutely. So in terms of your own running, coming away from events, how much would you say you run in an average week? Is there an average week?
Oh, well, no, there isn't, obviously. No. At the minute, last week I did a bit over 100k and a bit over 6,000 meters.
Okay.
Sort of in the middle of a sort of build up, I suppose. So there will be weeks that are a bit bigger than that. There'll be quite a lot of weeks that are less big, I suppose.
Yeah.
Depends what I'm training for.
Okay, so is that secret, or can you tell us what you're training for?
Well, I'm training for Tour de Géant in Italy.
Okay.
Whether or not it goes ahead, whether or not I can travel, whether or not I want to travel, is all quite uncertain.
In theory, when would that be then?
For a week either side, probably wouldn't bother. Yeah,
tricky.
If I spend the next 2 months doing loads of running in the hills and getting really fit, and then I don't get to do the race, that's not a disaster.
So is that September then?
Yeah, like 12th of September. So
yeah, a while to go.
Yeah, trying to predict the future is a pretty thankless task.
Yes, definitely. Where do you like to run? You're up in Scotland, aren't you? Do you run? Is it always mountainous for you?
I mean, as much as possible, I suppose. I do a lot of, like, all my long runs and stuff. I'll do a lot of them in the Cairngorms. That's just my local hills.
Nice.
But like through the week, I'll do plenty of running just in the woods and down by the river and all that sort of thing.
Lovely. Very nice.
Yeah.
What about FKTs, particularly if the races do start getting cancelled again, or even if they don't? Have you got any FKTs in mind, or again, is that top secret?
Well, I mean, the problem for people like me is that they're all getting harder.
Keep getting broken, as you've mentioned.
I've had a few fairly obscure hill running records in the Cairngorms, but I think I've pretty much exhausted the possibilities there.
Okay.
And you look at the stuff that Finlay Wild's been doing over in Lochaber, he's put it out of sight for normal people.
Oh gosh.
I got around to doing Ramsey's Round a few weeks ago, which is something I'd wanted to do for 10 years probably. Yeah. Nice to get that done. And I suppose if my race doesn't go ahead, I'll just try and do a few more things like that.
Exactly.
Not necessarily trying to do things fast, but just great
do
big days out. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much for talking to us. It's been really great to talk to you. And as I said, we're going to be doing the giveaway of your book on our socials. So if everyone can keep an eye out for that. Thank you very much, Ali Beaven.
Cheers.